World War I was arguably the biggest war in history. Some aspects of why World War I was the greatest war include the massive changes and effects in the social structures of different countries. World War I resulted in both positive and negative social effects, which include the increase in recognition of women, but decrease in living standards of the home front. As a result of World War I, the identity of women drastically changed through their massive exposure to the workforce and to rights. According to T.H. Kim, the author of Where Women Worked During World War I, previous social conventions suggested the majority of women to become housewives in many countries. As a result, women were merely judged by their beauty rather than their ability to work. They also never held any heavy industry jobs with serious responsibilities. However, during World War I, men were sent to serve their countries and were replaced by women on the home front. According to Leslie Hall, a historian and research fellow at the Wellcome Library, an estimated 2 million of women replaced men in employment during World War I. Works included ammunition manufacturing, nursing, and more that were unusual for women, but very essential to the war and to society. Furthermore, historians argue that World War I promoted women's suffrage. According to Melissa DeWitt, the endeavors and efforts of women on the home front during World War I was vital to the United States. As a result, movements such as the 19th Amendment promoted legal processes of women voting by explicitly stating that voting will not be denied depending on the sex. Many other countries such as Britain and Germany enabled women voting after World War I. Thus, people started to acknowledge women more through their ability to work rather than their beauty after World War I. In addition to more employment, women were given the right to vote and held great responsibilities for themselves. Thus, World War I laid a foundation to the public's acknowledgement of the true capacity of women's abilities and rights.
As World War I continued for several years, more resources were put into the war, resulting in a lack of resources on the home front. Food shortage was one of the major consequences. The war took farmers' lands and animals, and the imports of nitro fertilizers that enhance plant growth were restricted. Due to these limitations, agricultural output was greatly reduced. As agriculture production decreased, the price of food rapidly increased. According to the American Institute for Economic Research, the average price of crops increased from $1 in 1914 to $2.25 in 1918. Increasing food price led to uneven distribution of food in many Western countries such as Britain. However, the British government didn't respond to the food shortage at the beginning of the war. As a result, a lot of British homefront got us sleep hungry as Vera Wade, who experienced a food shortage in firsthand, describes the situation. After a few years of food shortage, negative sentiments grew up among the homefront and some of the homefront formed riots. To solve these problems, the British government established rationing in 1918. Ration cards were distributed to everyone to purchase a certain amount of food. Fortunately, rationing enabled food supply to function normally. As the home front cooperated to save the wheat, help the fleet, as described in British propaganda, World War I ended with the victory of Great Britain. However, the production of agricultural outputs took several years to recover. World War I had huge impacts on the home front in both positive and negative ways. The war offered an opportunity to raise women's recognition in political and economical sectors. On the other hand, it caused extreme food shortage that reduced the living standard of the home front.